podcast in which one man strives to level up his geekhood and helping you do the same, one battle at a time. Now, let's get geeky with Gamerleaf.
I want you to imagine, you've led a relatively ordinary life. Sure, as a human being, you've had your fair share of struggles. As a child, you grew up in a rough neighborhood, and school was never quite the refuge you wished it were. Then you became an adult, and like so many of your peers, you just barely eked by with that 9-to-5 job. Then one day you came home to your apartment to find it had been broken into, your belongings thrown about as if a tornado had struck. Your heart races with the realization your home has been broken into. And worse than that, you can hear there's somebody still moving around in your room. Cautiously, you make your way forward, creeping up to see who's there. And you see something impossible. It is some manner of dog, sleek and black. Its eyes glow golden, and it is far too large to be any ordinary dog. In its jaws, you can see it holds the golden necklace with the Ankh pendant that your grandmother gave to you. Almost instinctively, you grab the nearest blunt object, a broom, and swipe at the hound, which with a supernatural grace avoids your blow. The hound drops the necklace and gazes up to you, its eyes gleaming with intelligence. And then, it does something you didn't expect. It speaks. Fated one, I am sorry to have intruded upon your territory, but there were other creatures here before I, dangerous creatures, who intended to do you harm. You wonder if what you are seeing and hearing is real for a moment, or perhaps you are just dreaming, and only can mouth the words, fated one, almost a whisper. The hound continues, I'm a hound of Anubis, of Court Kemet, and you are destined to join our ranks. I know this must be strange to you, but please follow me this way. Seeing is believing. You cautiously follow the strange hound outside, and to an alleyway where space itself seems to twist and distort around you. Within the alley you see a man, his form shifting as he turns around to look at you. His skin changes, becoming a rich and verdant green, his eyes glowing gold like the hound's. You gaze down the alley and see beyond it, it leads to a far-off land where vast desert and blue skies stretch for endless miles. You ventured off into that far-off land, and ever since your life has never been the same. You were initiated into Court Kemet and awakened to your destiny as one of the fated, a shapeshifter of demigod-like power, destined to travel the two worlds.
Sound familiar to you guys? It didn't to me neither, but that is a story of a story from a far-off land, a Fate RPG in two worlds. And tonight we're lucky enough to have on the creator mastermind behind that, Megan Bennett-Burks. Is that correct, Megan? Is that how you fit into the story?
That is correct. I am a co-author along with Jacob Possin of Jade Punk.
Cool beans. Yeah, thank you for coming on Getting Geeky with Gamerleaf with us tonight, Megan. We really appreciate it. Now let's rewind a little bit. How did you get into role-playing games?
So, it started off all the way back during high school lunch break. I started playing the Rifts RPG and continued to branch out from there. My memory of those original early sessions of Rifts is pretty blurry, but I fell in love and just kept coming back to role-playing over and over again.
Cool beans. Did you take a hiatus? I know a lot of people I talked to in the role-playing things, it seems like they played during elementary or, junior high or high school and then took a break or whatnot, a hiatus. Did you do anything like that, or you been playing ever since?
I took a long hiatus. I didn't want to, but for a while it seemed like there was no one really role-playing around my area. I couldn't find a group. That changed, I want to say maybe 5 or 6 years ago or so. I just started running into a lot of gamers in my area. I don't know if that's just luck or if there was a big resurgence in role-playing games.
What game did you get back into with it?
Actually, that's the funny thing is the first one I ended up joining into again that was really long-term was Rifts again. There were other small games that lasted a session or two I joined before that, but the Rifts game lasted for, I want to say, a good 3 or 4 years I was in it. I started GMing my own game during that time.
Cool beans. I only ever played so I played Middle Earth role playing game, MERP. They called it back in the middle to late 90s when I was in high school, and then took a hiatus. Now with getting geeky with Gamerleaf, me and my wife and kids are going to be doing some role playing for our podcast every Monday after a little while, starting with Too Many Bones, which is a dice RPG that was recently on Kickstarter not too long ago, and so that's where we're going from. But I've never played. I think I might have in passing heard of the Rifts, but what can you tell other people who might not know what Rifts role-playing games is? What can you tell us about that one?
Rifts is a crazy kitchen sink multiverse game done by Palladium, and it combines a lot of different settings. Actually, they have a sort of weird horror setting called Nightbane. Actually, Mutant Ninja Turtles was for a while part of the Palladium umbrella. They did that role-playing game. Rifts itself was post-apocalyptic, crazy, just multiverse kitchen sink.
So that means they threw everything in, even the kitchen sink, or what does that mean?
Yeah.
Cool beans. And so how does someone go from playing, taking a hiatus, coming back to Rifts, to creating your own Kickstarter, which, is it even part of Rift's system, or what does it use?
Oh, no, not at all. This is using the Fate core system, which is definitely a very, very different type of game. Fate core is nice because it's, I want to say it's not open source, but it uses a license that opens it up for commercial usage without too much difficulty. I definitely absolutely could not do that with Rifts. So Fate is an awesome system that's sort of what I would say is in between a traditional role-playing game and what I would call a story game. It's very narrative, very oriented around sort of, I would say, larger-than-life characters is what it excels at. Sort of cinematic and movie-like.
So, word on the street is you have a role-playing game currently on Kickstarter. What can you tell us about it, Megan?
So, Far Off Land is an RPG in 2 worlds where modern meets mythic fantasy, and the intrigues of the courts and factions which the players each belong to play out. So very much urban meets high fantasy.
Oh, okay, cool. And if I recall, urban is just like your story. You're in modern, like nowadays times, and then it's mingled and mixed with fantasy then?
Absolutely. There's 2 worlds, and one of them appears very much like our own. In fact, on the surface, it is our world. Underneath that, there is a sort of hidden magic, but the Far Off Land, which is the other world, is all very fantastic, mythical, and high fantasy.
Cool beans. And this is your first game. It looks like this is your first Kickstarter, first game that you've created?
I have created another game. However, this is the first one that I have kickstarted.
Okay, cool. What was the other game, and is it available for people who would want to play it?
Oh yeah, it's up on Drive-Thru RPG, and it's called Leaves of Chiaroscuro, and that's also for Fate, but it bears some links to this one, sort of vaguely, but it's a different setting.
What was the inspiration behind A Far Off Land?
Oh, there's a lot. Jacob would obviously have different inspiration sources than I. He named anime, for example, is one of his inspirations for how we sort of took the direction of the magic. Mine would be a lot of ancient religion and folklore. Alice in Wonderland is a very big influence on it as well. We even have a Wonderland shows up in it. You can journey there, and there's the Hatter's Court, which is a faction that characters can even join.
So how did you said Jacob is his name?
Yes.
How did you guys get to working together on it?
So I've been lurking and even posting actively on and off the Fate forum or group over on G+. Pretty nice group, very active people on there. And I posted, I've done one game. I really want to do something else. Anybody interested in working on something for Fate with me? And Jacob chimed up pretty quick, and Jacob worked on Jade Punk, and I was impressed with his work. So I was like, yeah, that'd be awesome. Let's do something together.
Cool. And so you both are writers for it, or?
Yes, he's my co-author and has at least as much input into it as I do, for sure.
Cool. So how does something like that work? Do you write a portion and then he does, or you guys write something and then look at it together, or how does that whole process work?
Kind of a combination of the two. We've been using Google Docs extensively, which means that one of us can type something up, the other can edit it or comment on it, and we can go back and forth like that. And it sort of shaped up like that. So we've both written chunks and we've both edited each other's chunks quite extensively, and it's all sort of that way become this one very uniform thing.
So is it all completely written then?
The greater bulk of it is. However, the Kickstarter does involve some pledges which allow people to add their own monsters or artifacts or even NPCs and realms. So those parts are not written yet. The backers are going to let us know what they want to see, describe what they want the illustration for it to be like, and then that will be included. So it's mostly written, but not entirely.
So if a lot of people picked up on those ones, is there a lot of other stuff you have to add, like some of the backers have already pledged those ones?
Oh yeah, those were far more popular than I actually even expected them to be. They're our highest pledges, and they're getting taken really pretty quickly. We have a few left still, but not a whole lot.
So minus that, you said most of it's written. What about the art? How does the art play in? Do you guys do your own art, or you have hired an artist?
We've done both. So I've included some of my illustrations. However, I've also been hiring Gennifer Bone, who is a really great RPG artist. She did art for Lamentations of the Flame Princess and a lot of other stuff. And we also have Tanyaporn Sangsnit, who's done art for Pathfinder Pathways and Legendary games, and they're both just awesome artists.
And did you go about the through G Plus to find them as well, or how did that work? How did that play out?
So Gennifer I actually did find via G+, and I had heard of her previously, and I found her on there, and it's like, oh, I've got to get this person working on some of the art. She'd be great. Tanyaporn actually was a recommendation from a friend, and she's very impressive as well.
Okay, cool. And it looks like you can see some of the clips on the actual Kickstarter page. Cool beans. Now, let's see. It looks like you have a digital version. What? I know you said a lot of them are naming characters or whatnot, but when somebody backs this, what all do they get?
So they'll get a copy of the PDF no matter what they pledge, as long as it's the digital collection or above. Any milestone stretch goals that we do, they'll also get as well. So I'm really hoping we hit some of those. If we don't hit any of those, I still want to figure out something extra to give the backers that either will be extra cost if you're not a backer, or might be exclusive for them. But we'll see. I'm really hoping we hit some of those stretch goals. But there's a lot of options. There's PDFs, and we have a lot of different print book options as well available.
And do you currently have this? I'm trying to look at your page or whatnot. Do you have the stretch goals listed? I've not seen them yet. I know or maybe they are. Yeah, there they are. Okay, so what are some of the cool stretch goals?
So we have 3. One of them is an expansion for the magic system. And we're hoping to actually get our backers to play a role in how that's going to shape up. Tell us, what do you want to see in that magic system that's not already there? Another one is going to be a supplement for how mortals and ordinary humans interact with magical creatures and the fated. I believe that one's going to be called the Company of Mortals. And finally, the last one we're going to do, which I'm really, really hoping to get to, is a Powered by the Apocalypse, also known as the Apocalypse World Engine rule set for it. So that would be a secondary rule set that we would support.
So talking about the magic expansion or whatever, the new magic system, as well as the Apocalypse rules. So will these be new rules compared to what is currently in the Fate system?
Yes, Apocalypse World Engine is definitely a different set of rules, so we would have to write new ones. However, I really adore that system, and I'm confident we'll have no trouble doing so. It will still be able to use the same setting material largely, so it should be pretty great if we get to do it.
Mine is doing that, and well, I really hope you get it as well. So, but before that, I forgot to ask, how does a fate system compare to, like, I listened to a podcast called, the Glass Cannon podcast, where they play Pathfinder, and they have a different rule system from what I remember. Well, I really don't remember. I'm getting pretty old, and my memory's bad anyway, so I don't remember much from Middle-earth role-playing. What kind of rule system, or how does Fates look? Like, if me and you sat down to play, or well, I guess it'd probably be more people, but how would it look? Well, no, not look, sound, as we're on a podcast. How would that sound to the audience?
So Fate is not what I would say strictly a story game. It's in between trad and story game, but it lacks classes, which Pathfinder has. It's very sort of build a character using a series of traits called aspects. There's no set list of aspects. You kind of you just get so many and you name them how you like. They're short phrases, like, for example, let's say you wanted to emulate something from Pathfinder in Fate, and you're playing a wizard, an elven wizard. One of your aspects could be eccentric elven wizard, and you get to do different things with that aspect. Let's say that you're casting a spell, and you fail your roll miserably, and you go, you know what, but I'm an eccentric elven wizard, so I should be really, really good at this. I'm going to spend a fate point, because you have so many fate points that you get. And you spend that point and you get to re-roll, or add +2 to your roll. Or you can say, because I'm an eccentric elven wizard, this particular thing would happen in the game. And you get to sort of take over the game's narrative a little bit. So that almost in a way makes the players, to some lesser extent, a little bit like GMs themselves. That's one distinction. I would say it's probably the most major distinction.
Okay, would the GM still have the power to say, no, you can't, or?
Yes. I've had to do that now and then. You have to kind of work with the players to regulate what makes sense for those aspects to do in the context of the game. But it's really, it's not like there's a strict rule of how much power the GM versus the players have in Fate necessarily. It's something that requires buy-in with all the members of the group, and definitely some sort of communicating and navigating things that way.
And how would your Powered by the Apocalypse rule set sound or look?
So that one, there's a lot of different ways we could potentially approach it, but we're thinking of doing the standard Apocalypse World style playbooks, which are similar to classes, actually. They're basically relatively simple character archetypes that give you a bunch of different abilities to choose from. And as you advance, you get to pick different abilities to sort of represent your character. And
so if somebody's starting off, like, per se you don't make, I really hope you do, but per se you don't make it to the stretch goal, but you do, and you do fund or whatnot, to pick up and begin playing this, will they have to buy like a Fate book as well, or does that all come with a Kickstarter, or what all does somebody need to play a Far Off Land? So you will need Fate Core, unless you want to try using the setting with a different rule set, which I don't think will be all that hard for the most part to do. However, Fate Core, you can either purchase a hard copy. It is also available free legally online. They've made it available that way. Fate Core, Evil Hat's been awesome, and they've even made a full-on system reference document, which really you could strictly use that to run it if you wanted to. So you really just, as long as you back the Kickstarter and have access to the internet, you're pretty good. However, I definitely suggest picking up a copy of the hard copy of Fate Core. It's really a great book. Cool. And do you know how much something like that would run somebody? I'm not sure what Fate Core is running right now. I got mine for, I think I was lucky enough to get a used copy for under $10, but I'm guessing that if you bought it new, it would be more than that. Okay, well, and we can try to have a link in the show notes as well on that. Cool beans. So, so per se, somebody's fallen asleep listening to the podcast. It wouldn't be because of you or Far Off Land, our role playing game. It'd be because of my podcast, and they're tired of listening, as I tend to put out way too many podcasts per week. As like this other week ago, I put out like 6 during the week or whatnot. So they're a little tired of listening to me, but they're suddenly jolted awake before they hit that oncoming traffic, and now they're listening. Why should they take a chance on a far off land, a Fate RPG in Two Worlds, as opposed to, especially with all the different role-playing games that they have out there on Kickstarter currently?
Well, you know, there's always a lot of competition. I mean, if you really, really love Fate Core and you want that sort of larger-than-life, epic character play, if you want to sort of get that awesome contrast between the two worlds with that sort of familiar world you grew up on and that world that is just so different and vibrant and magical, then I think this game will really appeal to you. If you like playing shapeshifters, there's definitely that element. I think there's a good fan base for shapeshifters, and Fated are just that. And just Fate Core, again, it's freely available, so that's a little bit less of a financial load off some players, at least, and should help. It also has an established fan base as well.
Yeah, I don't know if you've listened to any of our podcasts or not, but the next section on our podcast is called Adventures in Application Acquisition, where we talk about an application for a moment, whether it be for the cell phone, for a tablet, for a computer, or even video game or whatnot. Is there an application that you use a lot of, Megan, that we can talk about for a moment?
For Fate, not so much. I mean, I use Google Docs to track a lot of things when I'm running the game. Sometimes I'll use a dice roller online. I off the top of my head, can't think of a particular one to recommend.
Okay, yeah, it doesn't even have to necessarily go along with role-playing games. I just got done with an interview of somebody, and they use, I forget what it's called. The episode hasn't yet released, but he has he has dogs, and so he travels with his dogs, and so it's an application that lets him go ahead and know where to bring his dogs, like where it's okay, restaurants where they can eat on the patio, or different places where they can use the facilities or whatnot, if you would. And then somebody else a while back ago, whose Kickstarter has yet to launch, it launches next week, had an application where you can take a picture of anything and it'll tell you if it's a hot dog or not.
So this one is role-playing related, but it's for Pathfinder, and it's spectacular. It's also free, at least last I checked, for Windows, and not very expensive at all for the iPad. Combat Manager, which is at combatmanager.com. Awesome for Pathfinder. You can enter custom monsters. It has a massive database of monsters and magic and all kinds of Pathfinder stuff. The nice thing about it is it rolls and calculates everything for you, which means if you're running Pathfinder, which can sometimes be slow if you're doing everything yourself, makes it a breeze.
Okay, Combat Manager, cool beans. And as you said, it's for Windows as well as where you can get it on Apple as well, it sounds like?
I'm not sure about Mac desktop, but iPad it definitely is on.
So if you own the rights to Combat Manager, Megan, what would be one thing you would do to make it a better application or fix it?
You know, I didn't really have any particular issues with it. I think some more graphics would be nice. Some pictures of some monsters and things are always nice to have. I'm a visual person, so that's helpful.
Okay, cool. So you heard it here first on Getting Geeky with Gamerleaf. If anybody's listening, hopefully we're making a green podcast. So if anybody's listening who has anything to do with Combat Manager, put some pictures on there, for goodness sake, according to Megan. So that'd be good. And mine is coming to your hometown to stalk you, Megan. How would somebody go about finding out about you or the role-playing game that you have going on, or upcoming projects that you might have in the future?
I'm pretty easy to find online, so if you want to stalk me online, it's not hard. You can just type my name into Google. I'm on G+. I'm very active there. I'm somewhat active on Facebook. I'm trying to be active on Twitter, but I haven't really gotten the hang of it.
Cool. I feel the same way. I feel the same way about the Twitter thing. But people say it's a pretty good place to be, so I don't know. Cool beans. And is there any kind of dirt that you'd like to give us on upcoming games? I know this is the focus right now, but do you have anything planned in the near future after this?
There's a lot of them that I have ideas for, and one that I'm preliminarily calling Fennel Witches is one that I'm researching. It's going to be a historical game, and I really love to make historical fantasy, alternate reality type games. So it take a lot of research. It's going to be for the Apocalypse World engine as well. Other than that, I might do a game about taking road trips, or I might do a game that's focused on sort of urban legends in Napa and Sonoma County of California. I'm kind of torn.
Cool beans. Yeah, I thought of that the other day, a while back ago, about that'd be cool to play a game where you're taking road trips.
Yeah, and I don't know really of too many that are out there.
Yeah, do you know if it's been done at all?
Someone mentioned a game that does that the other day, and now I can't remember the name of it, but that's the only one I had ever heard of, and it was only after I had posted that I liked the idea that I found out about that.
Well, we don't want to keep you all night, but we really appreciate you coming on Getting Geeky with Gamerleaf with us tonight, Megan. Actually, in fact, you're one of, well, we did have somebody prior, but their Kickstarter is going to be ended up relaunching next year. But so you're the first female that's been on the show, minus my daughters that come on the show occasionally.
Well, hopefully I don't have to relaunch, but we're doing pretty good so far.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, it looks like, and you have, it looks like about, at the time of the recording anyway, so about 3 weeks. It looks like your Kickstarter ends, let's see here, when does it end? You probably know, and so I don't have to scroll through. When does it end? When do they have to back this until?
So it's the Saturday after Black Friday. So also the Saturday after Thanksgiving, which is about 21 days.
So, the 26th of November. I don't know if they've come up with a name for that. I know they have Black Friday, they have Cyber Monday. Do they have anything for that Saturday?
I don't think so. Not that I've heard of. So we wanted to just beat the Thanksgiving Day, not end it.
There you go. So the turkey will be eaten. They'll have already done their go beat the crowds shopping. They'll be on break. They can go if they haven't already. Hopefully they'll do it sooner as opposed to later. But just in case, and they're listening later, maybe they listened on their way to their Black Friday deals or whatnot. They can hurry and go and back that. It looks like they could stay up really late on Saturday, depending on what time zone they're in. But might as well jump on it on Saturday because it ends Sunday at 1:08 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, so you might as well get that Saturday, and then you can go and worry about your Cyber Monday when you get to work.
Yep.
So there you go, there you go. Well, thanks again, Megan. We really appreciate you coming on Getting Geeky with Gamerleaf. We really appreciate that.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it as well.
No problem. And let's see, and is there, do you guys have a Facebook page or whatnot? Is there like for the name, for the company or?
No, I've been mostly just putting this up on G Plus and my Facebook personal page.
So yeah, they can, like you said, it's pretty easy to find you on there and stalk you online. So that's great. But yeah, once again, thanks for coming on Getting Geeky with Gamerleaf. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
No problem. And now it's time for Kickstarter Corner. You guessed it. We've got a couple Kickstarters on the docket. First off, side effects. Use drugs and therapy to treat your psyche in this beautifully illustrated card game for 2 to 8 players. This one is really great, and you can go back and listen to the interview if you're interested to find out more about it. But currently they have 38,834 out of a $12,000 goal. It has 18 days to go, so it'll end around Thursday, December 7th at 8:44 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Make sure you back it on the Kickstarters, and you can begin treating elements and figuring out different side effects. And then also, we've got random coping chess. Add an element of storytelling and reverie to chess, making it accessible and engaging in new ways. And we had them on the show. I don't know that we've released that episode yet, but they got about 17 days to go. You can go ahead and find this project and on the Kickstarter as well, and they have till the 6th of December. Check it out over on Kickstarter. I really like this idea of chess. I might actually win. Well, probably not, but still, it sounds like a fun idea, doesn't it? And then, last but not least, cabinet game tables from Carolina Game Tables. This is from Jodi and Clint Black, who are proud members of Pineacle Entertainment Group, the same people who bring you Savage Worlds role-playing system, or role-playing game. And it's a high-quality, solidly built cabinet to hold your games, with a reversible table for gaming, dining, crafts, and more. Check them out on the Kickstarter as well. They have $3,165 out of a $20,000 goal. They have 8 days to go, so you better hurry and get on this. They have through the 27th of November at 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. It is a little bit more pricey, but it's a great cabinet. We had them on the show just this last Monday. So check them out over on the Kickstarters. It's a really fun cabinet. You can put your games on the top shelf, books or role-playing games on the next, and then actually the table flips over or whatnot. It's a game table, and it's also a cabinet with a game table, and it's also a game cabinet. It's a pretty cool, nifty little idea. So check them out on the Kickstarters and see if that's something you'd like to get. And don't forget about their stretch goal, where you can get the PDF to all backers for $2 of Dinner and Dice, which is a great gaming cookbook from prominent gamers in the gaming community or in the gaming industry. And you get $2 by, even if they don't meet their funding goal, you can still get this PDF if they get their $500 shares on 500 shares with their stretch goal. So that's pretty cool. So even if they don't get that, go ahead and pledge $2. You don't necessarily, if they don't fund, you won't have to pay that $2, but you'll still get Dinner and Dice. And a reminder, if you don't have the $2 to go ahead and put on there in case they do fund, you can go ahead and try to win that. Go jump over to our last episode and try to win Dinner and Dice, the PDF. No one has yet to enter that giveaway, so go ahead and make sure. I'll leave that in the show notes as well. And now we will let you go, but I hope you will go ahead and get geeky, stay geeky, or continue to bring others into the geek fold. And this has been Getting Geeky with Gamerleaf. Make sure you leave a review on iTunes. They really help us out. And once again, we will be rebranding and making things to go back the way they used to be. I'm really excited as we will soon be getting into Too Many Bones as a family. Too Many Bones by Chip Theory Games. That's exciting. And there's a couple great games that we'll be playing in the next coming weeks. And we're going to go ahead and let you go, but get geeky and stay geeky, or bring those others into the geek fold. This has been none other than Gamerleaf. Gamerleaf out.
Gamerleaf levels up. Tune in next week to see if Gamerleaf's luck holds up.